Why, hello there, children of the night. And I don't know if you guys know, but apparently today is my birthday. So yeah, happy birthday to me. And I think today I'm probably gonna get my I'm gonna buy my birthday present online, which is mostly just a Fear Factory mechanized T-shirt, which you will probably see in future videos. And hopefully because I want to be the one that represents Fear Factory. I need because I made it my sworn duty to spread the word of Fear Factory. Even though two of their songs have around 1 million to 3 million views, it's not. But in terms of for a band that's been around since 1992, that's not enough. That's just not enough attention. So the so in my and considering that they did something so unique, unique and unique with the metal genre, it's practically insulting that that they don't have a lot of it, the amount of attention that Slipknot gets. So so it's pretty much my sworn duty to spread the word of Fear Factory, and hopefully a lot of my subscribers and other and not and some other people come across this reaction video. And, and if you haven't heard Fear Factory, go listen to them now. And if you haven't heard them since Demanufacture, they've improved significantly. Believe me. But anyway, for today's birthday video, I thought it would be a fun t I thought it would be a fun idea to check out, revisit the Russian sleep experiment. Yes, I did say revisit because I think back in like 2013 or 2014, my brother recommended that I check out I Read Creepypasta's uh, I check out I Read Creepypasta's version narration of the story, and uh, and he said that this is one of the best 0 to 100 stories ever. And he wasn't lying. It legitimately kind of scared me. And I Read Creepypasta's video on it has 21 million views, which, suggesting that this story is quite popular with the creepypasta community. So so it makes sense that this video would only have 2,000 views because, well, I Read Creepypastas already did a narration of it. And but ever since that day when I first read it, I don't really know much of what goes on in there. I know what happens. I know the basic plot of it. I know what happens in the story, but I kind of forgot but I kind of forgot what goes on in between between the what goes on during the simple plot of the test subjects being subjected to hallucinative drugs. So so anyway, like I said, it's my so please give me a lot of my birthday wishes, some birthday wishes, and please check out Fear Factory. They're a really great band, and if you've heard them before, they've improved a lot. Trust me. But enough of my pointless talking. I know because you're already gonna skip over it. Let's uh, let's go from 0 to 100. 7 lost nightmares.
Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas didn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they only had microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. The chamber was stocked with books, cots to sleep on, but no bedding, running water and toilet, and enough dry food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The test subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they had continued to talk about increasingly traumatic events in their past. And the general tone of their conversations took on a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering into the microphones and one-way mirror portholes. Oddly, they seemed to think that they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After day 9, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of the chamber.
Okay,
Yelling
already.
lungs for 3
Already
hours.
we went from 0
He
to
continued
100.
attempting to scream, but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords. The most surprising thing about this behavior is how the other captives reacted to it, or rather, how they didn't react to it. They continued whispering into the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The 2 non-screaming captives took books apart, smearing page after page with their own feces and pasted them calmly over the glass portholes. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering on the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were still working, since they thought it was impossible that no sound could be coming from the 3 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction out of the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the captives they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. They announced,
We are opening the chamber to test the microphone. Step away from the door and lay flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom.
to their surprise, they heard a single phrase in a calm voice respond.
We no longer want to be freed.
Debate broke out amongst the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphones began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of their loved ones, to turn their gas back on.
I don't want to go to sleep.
Nope.
The chamber was opened, and soldiers sent in to retrieve the test subjects.
Turn the gas back on! Turn it on! Turn it back on! Leave me in here!
They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one would rightly call the state any of them were in life. The food rations past day 5 had not been so much as touched. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chests stuffed into a drain near the center of the chamber, blocking the drain and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate on the floor. Precisely how much of the water on the floor was actually blood was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of skin and muscle torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and split bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. Closer examination to the position and angles of the wounds indicated that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin and most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs through the rib cage. All the blood vessels and organs remained intact. They had just been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still alive bodies of the subjects. Digestive tracts for all four could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that they were digesting their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. They continued to scream to be left in the chamber and alternately begged and demanded to have the gas turned back on, lest they fall asleep. To everyone's surprise, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped out. Another was gravely injured by having his testicles ripped out.
Oh, no.
Test subject's teeth.
Not the
Another
testicles.
five soldiers
No,
lost their
no,
lives,
not my manhood.
to count the ones that committed suicide within the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the four living test subjects had his spleen ruptured and he bled out almost immediately. Medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arms.
Good.
His heart was
Good.
seized for a full 2 minutes after he bled out to the point where there was more air in the vascular system than blood. After it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes, struggling to attack anyone within reach, and just repeating the word more over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent.
Calm down. You don't need more gas.
The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to the medical facility, 2 with intact vocal cords continuously begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. The process of preparing the subject to have his organs placed back within his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to any sedative that they had given him to prepare him for the surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when the anesthetic mask was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of the 200-pound soldier holding the wrist as well. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped beating. In the autopsy of the test subject that had died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. The muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn, and he had broken 9 bones in his struggle to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only reacted by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic mask was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested, reluctantly, that they try the surgery without anesthetic, and did not react once in the entire 6-hour procedure of replacing his abdominal organs and attempting to cover them with what remained of his skin. The surgeon presiding stated repeatedly that it should be medically impossible for the patient to still be alive. One terrified nurse assisting in the surgery stated that she had seen the patient's mouth curl into a smile several times whenever his eyes met hers. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began wheezing loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming that it must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and paper fetched so the patient could write his message. It was simple. Keep cutting. The other 2 test subjects were given the same surgery, both without anesthetic as well, although they had to be injected with the paralytic during the duration of their operation. The surgeon found it impossible to perform the operation with the patients laughing continuously. Once paralyzed, the subjects could only follow the attending researchers with their eyes. The paralytic cleared from their system in an abnormally short period of time, and they were soon trying to escape their bonds. The moment they could speak, they were again asking for the stimulant gas. The researchers tried asking why they had injured themselves, why they had ripped out their own guts, and why they wanted to be given the gas again. The only response given was,
I must remain awake.
all 3 test subjects' restraints were reinforced, and they were placed back in the chamber awaiting determination as to what to be done with them. The researchers, facing the wrath of the military benefactors for having failed the stated goals of their project, considered euthanizing the surviving subjects. The commanding officer, an ex-KGB, instead saw potential and wanted to see what would happen if they were put back on the gas. The researchers strongly objected, but were overruled. In preparation for being sealed in the chamber again, the subjects were connected to an EEG monitor and had their restraints padded for long-term confinement. To everyone's surprise, all 3 stopped struggling the moment it was let slip that they were going to be put back on the gas. It was obvious at this point that all 3 were putting up a great struggle to stay awake. One of the subjects that could speak was humming loudly and continuously. The mute subject was straining his legs against the leather bounds with all of his might, first left, then right, then left again for something to focus on. The remaining test subject was holding his head off of his pillow and blinking rapidly. Having been the first to be wired to the EEG, most of the researchers who were monitoring his brainwaves were surprised. They were normal most of the time, but sometimes flatlined inexplicably. It looked as if he was repeatedly suffering brain death before returning to normal. As they focused on the paper scrolling out of the brainwave monitor only, one nurse saw his eyes slip shut at the same moment his head hit the pillow. His brainwaves immediately changed to that of deep sleep, then flatlined for the last time, as his heart simultaneously stopped. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both test subjects inside, as well as 3 researchers. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes, then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. He pointed the gun at the remaining test subject, still restrained to the bed, as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room.
I won't be locked in here with these things. Not with you.
He screamed at the man strapped to the table.
What are you? I must know.
The subject smiled.
Have you forgotten so easily?
The subject asked.
We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven, where we cannot tread.
The researcher paused, then aimed at the subject's heart and fired. The EEG flatlined
No.
as the subject merely freaked out.
No.
So nearly free.
Nope. Lost narrator, Quillen led. Good job. I'm pretty sure Quillen led it. It was a part in this. If not, then. The researcher, test subjects 1, 2, and 3, all done by different voice actors. So that was the Russian sleep experiment, and now I know why it scared me so much. Mostly because, like I said at the beginning, it's one of those 0 to 100 stories. It's kind of like cupcakes in a way, where it goes from 0 to 100, and once it does go to 100, you're on the edge of your seat. You're constantly on the edge of your seat. And honestly, there's a reason why this is one of the most famous creepypastas ever. It's because it's what it's it's I'm even struggling to find with other words to say other than it's a good 0 to 100 story, but it is. It's a good. It goes from 0 to 100. You're wondering what is even what even happened to the test subjects, and by the end you're just honest to God horrified. I could say, Lost narrator and all the other voice actors, good job. Despite this being having only 2,000 views, still a good job. And hands down, this is better than Jeff the Killer. Yes, I said that. Come at me. But anyway, this has been Eccentric Emolga and the Russian Sleep Experiment. Stay smiling, party on, and peace! Happy birthday to me! Also put birthday wishes in the comments.